Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, coming at you from the cafe, or at least it started that way with a fun, cozy spot to read and chat, and then I added a nearby space for tabletop gaming, and then a lounge. Okay, that was a journey, but anyway, you can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me where I'm live. Housing has arrived in World of Warcraft, and we've got to talk about how gamers have been reacting, but I want to get some recent beta updates out of the way first, because they're pretty important. As you may know, housing levels capped at 5 during early access, which gives an interior budget of 2,050 and a room budget value of 43. Now, over on the beta recently, we're now seeing the level cap go all the way up to 9, which brings us to a budget of 3,340 and a room budget of 75. It's going to be quite a journey to get to that point, requiring an additional 9,000 housing experience, but when endeavors come into play by then, you'll find those gains to come a lot faster than it seems to be right now. Once we get closer to launch, we'll hopefully better understand how experience farming will work, and we'll revisit this topic again. Let's rewind though. The main perk from these new levels thankfully comes at only level 6, and it's a doozy. It's a feature called a Hearthlight Armillary, which is basically ambient lighting control in and around your house. Creds over in the Wakia Discord produced a few screenshots of the lighting control in action with 5 settings to make spaces feel a lot brighter or a lot darker to emphasize the lighting setup around your house or your cave or your nightclub or whatever. And I love it, it's really great. There's also a fair conversation to be had about how maybe this should have been a thing from the very start. I also think it's fair to not overwhelm newbie builders with too many features and possibilities all at once, or maybe this is just a feature that recently had been finished enough to put out. Now, I'm only using myself as an example, but I power leveled my way to level 5 for my housing. I went ahead and made the first room of my house, the biggest one that we can make, the large square room. Now, despite my obvious love for housing, I'm actually not very good at it, so a decision like this turned out to be very intimidating. Like, how do you fill this up tastefully? And I'm still trying to figure that out, so that's going to be my main journey over the next few months of early access and probably well beyond that, because housing, it's not a race to finish, it's a journey, and it's one that we have internally. One more small but significant addition from the beta includes silver versions of the statues we saw in an earlier build. This adds up to 3 kinds of trophies available from the upcoming raid bosses: a Gleaming, an Aureate, and this silver version. So far on the beta, the Gleaming and Aureate versions show up on heroic and mythic loot tables, while only the Aureate versions show up on the raid finder and normal tables, and meanwhile the silver one is nowhere to be found. Speculating here, but this appears to be a change from earlier reporting over how some of these trophies might be related to cutting-edge raid stuff, so I guess we're moving away from that exclusivity, and basically everyone will eventually be able to get a trophy depending on their level of play. So it makes sense. I think it would also be pretty neat if later on, when we plop these trophies down somewhere in our house, someone who happens to mouse over it can see a tooltip that says when we got that drop. We'll see how these rewards shift as we get closer to launch. It's not like housing is the only thing going on in the beta either. Various class changes and shifts are happening, the UI changes continue with lots of feedback in favor of high-end performance and accessibility. This week's changes have been more incremental than groundbreaking. There's not much to be said about healing absorbed debuffs aside from, hey, nice monogram. And, really biased as I am, housing really did suck up all the oxygen this week. It's a feature like no other, and even if you couldn't care less about it, we can't deny the immediate impact it's had on the game. With a system of user-generated content officially introduced for the first time, gamers are in that mixed mess of a honeymoon phase, overcoming the challenges of getting into housing before creating all sorts of everything, from cozy little living spaces to monstrosities to the many interpretations of a toilet. I want to take some time to talk about what gamers have been talking about most so far with housing. I've been living in a vacuum for the past couple days, so my listening might be a little bit biased, but I think I have a good idea of what the bigger subjects have been. Like, how do you get your housing to level 5 so fast? I made a guide the other day, a link to that is in the video description for the details, and most importantly the mental prep, because that plays a very big part into getting into this. I'll also get into this a bit more in the usual Monday video, but by using the All the Things add-on, which has been recently updated, and bringing all of your settings down to just these few options, you'll see all the relevant decor that hasn't already appeared in your house chest. Anything highlighted as uncommon or higher will count towards your experience once you pick it up. The update was pretty recent, so you might want to do a quick mouse over to double check and make sure you haven't in fact collected it already. But this will answer all your specific questions as to what vendors are available, what reps do you need to grind, or instances that you need to go to for decor you haven't at least collected once. As you know, leveling your housing comes from earning a new decor that is uncommon or higher for the first time. It comes from a variety of sources, and I think the most significant and easy source is Legion Remix. Each class can buy up a handful of decor from the Order Hall straight away, and more if you complete their Order Hall campaign and collect an artifact appearance. There's another achievement related to recruiting troops, which can be kind of a pain because you also have to use these troops in the mission table so you can recruit more, but I'm mostly pointing it towards Legion and the Remix to help speed things along. Next week, Phase 5 of the Legion Remix begins too, which will bring us catch-ups and more, making it a good time to start pumping out alts. The outdoor decor limit really sucks. And you're right, gamers don't like it, Blizzard doesn't like it, but it's been explained that unfortunately due to performance issues found during early testing, they've had to limit outdoor decor, but also disable decor that has lighting effects and restrict it to the indoors. And there unfortunately hasn't been any changes in this week beta build either. So there are two issues Blizzard needs to work through in the roughly 2 months before the pre-patch. They need to raise the outdoor limit and get lighting to play friendly outside. Now, together that's a really rough combination, because consider how the game mostly works right now. When we travel from place to place, sometimes because of lag or system requirements, it takes time for assets like buildings or NPCs or even terrain to appear. Part of Blizzard's job is to optimize the game, so when we're flying around at breakneck speeds, objects load in a timely manner. So we can successfully fly down the coreway into the Ringing Deeps, and we'll be able to see landmarks, and when we finally land, at worst, we might see players and all their fancy armor start popping in. But now consider housing, where we might have dozens or hundreds of assets sized and positioned and dyed every which way, all crammed into these small pockets, which are our plots, dotted across this extremely large instance. Unlike the normal outdoor world, where many objects can just be built into the map itself, user-generated content is loaded as it's called as you get there real time. Traveling through the neighborhood is kind of like running into a bunch of landmines of content, so imagine if we had 5 or 10 times the decor budget outside, not to mention the lighting. Which I want to be clear, we want this and we should have it. It actually makes for a good argument in favor of single instance housing over neighborhoods, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, we'd be totally isolated, but it resolves every problem, which is why we have these higher limits indoors with no restrictions on lighting effects. Now, the team appears a bit confident there's going to be a fix. The upcoming lighting tool introduced in this build, it lets the user manipulate lighting both inside and around their home, which to me sounds like the outside. Personally, I wonder if it's a good idea to have a separate kind of housing budget that applies only to objects that produce lighting. Eventually, we're going to see this resolved somehow. Today, though, today it sort of stinks. We can improvise and work with what we've got, but it also ain't much. There are a lot of mixed reactions over acquiring decor, from the cost from vendors to crafting them to, just having to go around buying the stuff. The subjects, they intermingle, so I'll be talking about kind of all of them at once, jumping back and forth. But we'll start with the general complaint of it being way too inconvenient to have to travel all the way out to some spot to get decor from a vendor, let alone the horror of having to go back there again because you might have been short a few beams or something. Funny enough, I haven't heard a peep of this from stream chats, but I regularly see threads complaining over this. Some use this as an argument in favor of buying an item once and then having unlimited placement of that item. Many gamers from the other end of this conversation have pointed out virtually every other game with systems like these do in fact have you craft or buy or earn every piece of decor, no discounts, you just get it. It's also fair to say that WoW can maybe do something different. And I pointed out that they have, because we don't have to buy a house and we don't have to throw down gold to buy a bigger house or to, buy more housing budget. For veteran players, getting started is crazy accessible without ever leaving the neighborhood zone. There are daily quests to earn free decor all over the place, and there's stuff that drops from dungeons and raids. Those have a guaranteed drop rate. You can just hop on your high-level characters and have at it. And devs have said, even in recent interviews, that the design of housing is to get folks out into the world, visiting old content, participating in old activities. There are still outliers, like the meta decor that goes for 100,000 echoes of Nyalotha. It's really crap, but it's hardly an indictment of the entire system. But they should just bring this cost down to something more equal to the other meta achievement decor, or at least let us enter the old horrific visions without needing keys. From a strictly builder standpoint, I can't understate the tip of having a character who stays in the house and does all the decorating while the rest of the warband does the traveling, the fighting, and what have you. Odds are pretty good that if you're running out to buy multiples of the same decor, you're in a decorating mood, right? So you're going to buy that stuff and then you're going to place it right away. So it's just easier to run out and buy that thing and then immediately switch to your housing alt who probably doesn't need a bunch of add-ons, and that'll help to reduce load times. It saves a ton of trips. You can use the warband's ability to unlock stuff to your advantage. I mean, it's what gamers have been fighting for years, right? These kinds of conveniences. Now, while this conversation is going to continue, I do suggest taking this advice because it's an obviously intended workaround that you can take advantage of right now. As for the actual buying of stuff, you can use the Buy 'em All add-on. I'll link this in the video description too. I've been a promoter of this add-on for years. It lets you buy multiples and quantities of everything with only a single confirmation. And also consider this, we're not even done with the first week of housing, and just like how the feature is catching up to 20 years of World of Warcraft and still doing it, we're doing the same, consuming content and collecting all the things. Just like how a new expansion features stupidly expensive reagents because they're all brand new, the same goes for crafted decor. These are brand new things that, in this case, they're purely cosmetic, and the urgency to collect these is entirely up to the player. Right now is the biggest buying period of housing, as gamers collect things for the first time, and they're also going to stock up on critical components like pillars and platforms and trees and more for the first and hopefully the last time if they're satisfied. In a week or so, are gamers going to be as active with the buying spree, or will have they mostly satisfied their purchases? Will they have wised up and figured out their own system of sending out the warband while their personal steward keeps the lights on at home? The rush of obtaining the core, it's going to settle down, with spikes here and there as new patches and endeavors roll in, and that's good, I think. It keeps things exciting, and hopefully by then, gamers will adopt a mentality that's more or less similar to the trading post, where new stuff is available, but they understand choices can be made or put off for later. Housing can throw WoW gamers for a loop because it's a highly personal journey. It's a form of endgame that belongs entirely to them. Similar to collection, but with housing, collection is just the start. It's what we do with it that can feel infinitely more challenging, and we can screw ourselves up very easily if we try to jump into it without making some sort of plan. And no one can make that except for you. And no one's pressuring you either. So take it brick by brick, one placement at a time, and that's the show. A few updates I want to share towards the back here. I'm still working on the mug that I designed a while back. There's still some kinks I want to work out, and I want it to be in a better state before I drop it into the store. Lots of folks have been asking me to do a tour of their place inside WoW. Now, to keep things organized and tidy, I have a sign-up sheet ready to go. It's also in the video description, and here's how it works. You sign up and you share a bit of information, including your battle tab. For now, that's going to be the only way to reliably visit someone's plot. Each week, I'm going to post a schedule of plots over on the Discord channel, and then I'm going to visit folks on a specific day. This will be done on stream live as a self-guided tour. So we do the tour live, we have some fun, and later on, that tour might be published in a separate video. There should still be room for spontaneous tours during streams if I've got nothing scheduled at the moment, or if I'm in a mood, but this is the best way to ensure I can get to everyone. And this also includes folks on the EU. I'm just going to re-up my EU account so I can visit people there too. I hope this all works out, and I'm super open for feedback to make it better or more efficient and so on and so forth. For now though, I want to get back to farming up some resources. I kind of like this whole gear thing I got going on, but I also have a lot of books to craft and put onto shelves. So huge thanks to everyone who joined me on stream. Y'all have been fantastic throughout the week. To our awesome patrons, thanks for being yourselves, and to you viewer, thanks a ton, you made it to the end, you fed the algorithm. Now if you could, like this video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.